From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log, with a rare Friday edition. We don't usually post new episodes on Friday. In fact, that reminds me, let me update you on our plans around here. Some small changes coming. Typically, if there is such thing as typical around here, we would post new episodes Monday through Thursday with repeat episodes shared on Friday. In the very near future here, we're going to make that 3 episodes per week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, with a repeat on Thursday. And then on Friday, we're going to resurrect Charles Purcell Presents. If you're not familiar, that's a half-hour weekly program we did for quite a while. We stopped doing it when COVID hit. And it's a lot of fun. It's radio theater, it's improvised stuff, it's soundscapes and silliness, and there's still some commentary, but it's embedded into this a little more creative program. The deal is, here's the quick history on this. This program, The Log, started as a 1-hour program, and it incorporated all sorts of different characters and sound effects and music, and we filled it up and tried to get creative and have some fun with it. And I quickly discovered that the programs had no shelf life at all. They couldn't be repeated weeks or months or years later because we were talking about such timely things. So I made the executive decision to split it into 2 half hours. The Log would be mostly commentary, mostly timely, and then Charles Purcell Presents would be the other half hour, and that's where we'd concentrate on the more fun stuff and the absurd stuff and the radio theater and all of that. So we're going to bring back the half-hour Charles Purcell Presents. It's a lot of fun. It's not comedy. I won't claim to offer this big cavalcade of comedy show. It's some of it's funny, but it's mostly weird and absurd, and it borders on funny. Put it that way. It's absurd. It's whimsical. It's comedy adjacent. And then some of it is dead serious, but mostly it's just sort of odd. And I hope you like it. All right, so that's what's going on around here. Really just 2 big stories in the news. The only thing anybody's covering, COVID and voting rights. It was the big week for voting rights. Let's start with COVID. And one of the more trivial aspects of the whole story. You and I talked about how much I enjoyed the COVID versions of the late night talk shows. They're so much better without an audience. I have an axe to grind against live studio audiences. They're just obnoxious. And they change the performances of the hosts. They're playing to the live audience, especially Colbert. I can't stand his live audience. He's so much better without them. When he's just looking into the camera and he remembers that there's millions of people watching him on TV compared to a couple hundred in the studio. Without the live audience, he can concentrate on looking right into the camera and entertaining me on my couch. And it's just infinitely better. So this week it happened again. Of course, the audiences came back, a couple months ago, and Colbert has been sticking it out with the live audience. He hasn't had COVID, but the NBC kid, Jimmy, got it. He was off for a while. I guess that happened mostly during the Christmas break, the holiday break. Seth Meyers, who I like, I enjoy Seth Meyers. He gets COVID, has to take a week off, comes back, and he's back in some apartment somewhere. I don't know where he is, but no more studio. And I just got to say, I wish somebody would learn this lesson. You guys, if you're listening, you're better without the live audience. You're better when you look at the camera and entertain the person on the couch. It's just so much more intimate. It's so much more interesting. So there's your trivial COVID news. Oh, I said I wish someone would learn the lesson. You know who did learn the lesson? And that's Trevor Noah, host of The Daily Show. And I'm retreading a little bit of old ground here if you heard me say this before. I was never a big fan of Trevor Noah's version of The Daily Show. I didn't think it was all that funny. And it's just, I don't know, I didn't care for it. I didn't think it was that great. But when COVID hit, again, without the live audience, and with him looking right in the camera, and the producers really got their hands on this too. They had some great new ideas regarding presentation. The fact that they weren't going live to tape, they could do some quick cuts and some interesting editing and toss in some effects. And so the COVID version of The Daily Show was infinitely better than the pre-COVID live audience version of The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. And I became a huge fan. And then I started watching it again. I don't know where it is now. I'm not sure what's going on. I haven't seen it for a long time, since before the holidays. I don't know does Trevor Noah have COVID? Do you guys know? Is that the deal? Because I haven't seen any new shows I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, there's your COVID late night update. Yeah, what a week. All-time records for cases of COVID. Hospitals are overrun. Just on Thursday, we learned the Biden administration announced a couple things. They'd be assisting in hospitals themselves. They're going to send personnel into hospitals, federal, I don't know who these people are. Military, medical teams, I don't know where they're coming from exactly. Millions of free testing kits going out to schools and elsewhere. 500 million more tests to be supplied. So there's that. The Supreme Court weighed in on the vaccine mandate. You and I have gone back and forth on this. I was never a big fan of mandates, but I've come to the conclusion that after more than a year of available vaccines and half the country saying no thank you, that's what changed my mind. Okay, well, if, as I said the other day, we wouldn't need stop signs if everybody stopped at the corner. We wouldn't need laws against murder if nobody ever murdered anybody. Laws only come in reaction to what's already happening. Oh, people are driving around hitting each other. We better put up some stop signs. Oh, look, people every once in a while kill each other. We better make a law about that. Laws nobody ever anticipates something bad that might happen, then make a law against it. The bad thing happens first, and then you make a law. Look at the history of law. That's what it is. All right. So that's how I felt about vaccine mandates. Don't make a law, tell people they have to get vaccines. Let's just do the right thing. Everybody get vaccinated. But then once we have a history, an entire year of people doing the wrong thing, then yeah, you better make a law. So I'm in favor of vaccine mandates. And the Supreme Court is not. Supreme Court said, nope, can't do it at least not for big business. That was the deal. The Biden administration mandate was any employers of a certain size had to require vaccines as a condition of employment. That was shot down by the conservative Supreme Court. They let stand the mandates for certain health professionals. All right. I haven't checked here in the last day or two, but the last time I did check, the rolling daily average was over 1,600 deaths per day. Even though Omicron is supposedly, quote unquote, milder, that's something that we're being warned against. I've seen lots of press on this. People saying, wait, hold it. Don't get all caught up in this Omicron is milder thing. Because yes, based on the statistics we're seeing so far, yes. But, you don't want to take your chances. This thing is still killing people, absolutely, of all ages. So you don't want to take your chances. Get vaxxed, get boosted. So, the death rate is still very, very high. Nobody actually knows. Their best guess, they're hoping. They always couch their predictions and saying, well, this is not a prediction. These are only what the models are telling us. So hopefully we've reached a peak and we'll come down from here. Hopefully, it's always in this kind of language. So that, COVID, extreme COVID news. And then it was the big week for voting rights. Of course, Joe Biden goes out on Tuesday. He and Kamala Harris go to Atlanta and try to make a big historic moment, and it didn't quite land. I wish it had. They had the whole Georgia delegation with them. Both senators were there. They had most of the Black Caucus come down with them from Washington. The Hispanic Caucus was there. It was a big deal. Like, everybody was there. And Joe Biden makes his speech. But, the moment we're in, I think some people have finally realized how important this is. It was just splashed all over the news. Joe Biden did use the kind of rhetoric that he just doesn't usually go to. It was really very tough, and he was calling out the Republicans, and he was comparing them to Civil War Confederacy, Jim Crow too, as far as these voter suppression laws. So it was tough. It was a very tough speech, and just very, demanding. We must pass voting rights now. The John Lewis Act and the Freedom to Vote Act have to go through. And then later in the week, all these sort of maneuverings in the Senate to using... If you want to get something done in the Senate, you can get it done. There are so many. There's such a minutia, right? There's the fine print. It's filled with these rules and policies and traditions. And, all they got to do is open up some bottom little drawer in a back office, and they can find some maneuver, some little Senate rule that they can exploit from 1836 or something. It's crazy. So that's what Schumer and the Democrats did later in the week. And but still, whatever they do, it still comes down to Manchin and Sinema, who are just not budging on the filibuster. And every once in a while, some pundit, some network reporter will come on just breathlessly saying, oh, Joe Manchin has maybe cracked the window of hope just a little bit because he didn't say an absolute no to this answer, an absolute yes to that answer. He left some room, some wiggle, and they get all excited. But there seems to be no hope at all, especially from Sinema. She spoke on the floor of the Senate on Thursday. She stands up at her desk and makes the most insipid little speech, like she's a middle school civics teacher explaining about bipartisanship and how we should all get together, how we should listen to each other, and how we should understand, and how we should build bridges and be bipartisan. It was so ridiculous. It was so stupid. Everything she said was so obvious and just kind of soaked in this veneer of sentimentality about getting together and being American. And everything she said was so horribly obvious. I agreed with everything. Of course, we should try to get together. Of course, we should debate issues. Of course, that's what it means to be America. Of course, of course, of course. Nobody argues with any of that. But she had one fatal blind spot. She said that we have to expect differences between those who share core values, and we just must debate those differences. Well, it's the sharing the core values part that she doesn't get. She said that Democrats and Republicans in Washington, and Democrats and Republicans or conservatives, liberals, she said that we share core values. And she's including Senate Republicans. She actually believes that the Republicans in the Senate and the House and the Republicans in 19 different state legislatures who are, as we speak, actively rigging the next election by changing laws so that they control who gets to vote and who gets to count the votes. They're doing it in clear view, right out in the open, where everybody can see. They are destroying democracy before our very eyes, and they barely even try to defend it. This is why these two bills in Congress regarding voting rights are so important. It's the only way to stop Republicans from stealing elections in swing states and creating permanent minority rule. The death of democracy, an American apartheid state. These are the stakes. And Kyrsten Sinema is standing up there like a middle school civics teacher talking about understanding, because people who share core values need to debate their differences. They don't share core values. They have no values. That's your fatal flaw, Kyrsten Sinema. They don't share core values with any decent person. And when they have the gavel, and when they're able to pass laws unilaterally, you know what those laws are going to be. They're going to ban abortion. They're going to ban books. They're going to criminalize same-sex marriage. They're going to criminalize transgender people just for the very people they are. They're going to make people illegal. They're going to put all the levers of power into the 1% of Americans who already hold the levers of power and money. They're going to codify and make permanent voter suppression. They don't, core values, what are you talking about? So it's been a hell of a week. I'm going to spend the weekend here trying to pick myself up from the brink, trying to talk myself off the ledge because I'm ready to give up. I'm feeling like, well, what? At this point, at what point do you give up? We all have to give up on some things, right? If you're trying to achieve some goal in your life, some personal accomplishment, I don't know if you want to lose weight or get in shape, or some sort of personal goal, or you want to attain some financial goal, or you want to learn to play the guitar. It's just my fingers hurt. I give up. I don't know. Whatever it is. Is there ever a time where you just say, well, I guess that's not going to happen. I'll surrender. I'll move on to something else. I don't know. What's the threshold at which you give up? What's the common denominator? What can we learn? When do we give up? And it's an especially difficult question when talking about our roles as citizens. Assuming we want to live in a self-governing democracy, at what point do we just give up? I mean, the two big issues of this week, voting, democracy itself being threatened, and COVID. We didn't even, there are a couple of other, we always talk about the big pillars, right? The others being income inequality, climate crisis, and then the whole race and police reform issue. Those three, income inequality, climate crisis, and police reform, nowhere to be seen. They're just completely off the map. So the two issues everybody's talking about, voting rights, the threats to democracy, and then COVID, have we given up? Have we just given up? Let's think about this for a second. What would citizen surrender look like? Okay, I'm a citizen, right? But I don't know what else to do here. I give up. I surrender. So what does that look like? I think people who just get up every day, go to work, try to be happy, try to be healthy, come home, relax a little bit, go to bed, and then do it again. And this is most of us, right? A lot of us. On the weekends, maybe try to get some rest, take care of some business, some household chores, maybe do some shopping, maybe try to get a little entertainment. There's your weekend. Now Monday comes and you start the whole thing all over again. That's your life. Now, for me, that's what surrender looks like. That is the very face of surrender. That is citizen surrender. Get up, go to work, relax, go to bed, do it again, have the weekend. To me, that's surrender. How many lives does that describe? If you're talking about our roles as citizens, that is abdicating your role as a citizen. Preserving democracy is up to all of us. And if we can't do that, then we can't do anything about the other issues. And by doing something about the other issues, I mean actually doing something, actually participating in all that democracy allows for us to solve problems. It's up to all of us, or at least enough of us. Maybe not literally all of us, but I don't know. The tipping point, right? The enough of us. So I guess the question then becomes, where are you in this fight? Have you surrendered, either knowingly or maybe subconsciously? Because if I've described what surrender looks like, let me describe now what not giving up looks like, staying in the fight. First, you have to be informed. You have to develop some sort of media literacy and some sort of discipline to the point where you have a basic knowledge and understanding of what's going on. Now, that's a basic prerequisite that I think many people haven't even met. If you're somebody who follows the news of the world, you have a basic understanding of what's going on, how many friends, relatives, people in your circle, you'll mention, I don't know, some article you read or some issue in the news, and they'll go, what? Like they never heard of it. I certainly have people like that in my life. I got lots of people like that. They have no idea. Just no idea. So that's number one. You have to first, that's the lowest bar. You got to know what's going on. And you have to develop some sort of media literacy so you can find out what's going on. All right, so there's your first step. And then once you've done that, my next little rule is the one that the doctors take a vow to. First, you do no harm. And that means you take a look at where and how you work, your job, where and how you consume, what you buy, where and how you travel. How do you get around? If your job is doing more harm than good in the world, if the things you consume are creating more harm in the world, more emissions, if you're consuming too much, if you're traveling around in a gas guzzler, to the best of your ability, do what you can about doing no harm. Now, I know not everybody can go out and just quit their job, although the Great Resignation has showed us that it's maybe easier than we thought. Sure, we all need things. We have to consume things. We have to have clothing. We have to eat food. I mean, of course, we need things. We have to get around. But there are choices within all of these elements here. And remember, this is all in the context of not giving up on saving democracy and on working on these four sort of existential problems: climate crisis, COVID, police reform, income inequality, and democracy itself. So when you frame your behavior, your activity in the world, as it relates to those issues, are you doing more harm than good? Or vice versa? Think about it. All right, the next level of what not giving up looks like. Be vocal about your values and about your concerns with friends and family. Don't be in the closet. I was in the closet for years and years. I had ideas, I had notions, I had thoughts, I had opinions. I kept them to myself because I just wanted to, not make any waves, didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable. If we're going to get anywhere at all, we have to be absolutely open. We have to make it part of our dinner conversations. We have to make it part of every conversation. Make it part of your first date conversation, for God's sakes. We got to get this out in the open. We have to get out of the closet. The next level beyond that is then to go public, go out of your bubble. And that's where I'm talking, go out and do it. Write a blog, produce a podcast, be an influencer, put it out there into the world, put it out into the wider world. We can't be timid about this stuff. Or I don't know, maybe that's not your style, but somehow you got to go public with this if you want to be part of the solution, if you want to not give up. So, go join a demonstration, paint a sign, chant a chant, sing a song, join an organization, get into some direct action, some, protests and demonstrations, teach-ins, whatever. Get out there in public, do the public work. If you're able, run for office. If you're able, make your cause what you believe in, make it your avocation, your hobby. All your free time that you used to spend binging Netflix, make this your passion. Make this your avocation. If you're able, make it your job. Make it literally your life's work. So at any point of this sort of ladder I just described, find somewhere and get on it. If you want to stay engaged, if you want to not surrender. Anything short of this is surrender. All right, now, I need to say this too. I need to say this. What about, you might say, I do one or all or some of these many good things, like I donate money to charity, maybe you volunteer at a local food bank. You're one of these really good people. You're a big brother, a big sister. You participate in these all these fundraising things at your job, or you rescue cats and dogs, or you're active in your church, or you do the run walk for cancer. There are people who really, this is a big part of their identity. Now, does this all help? Absolutely. It's fantastic. Yes, of course. I have nothing but praise for all of these wonderful things. In some ways, absolutely life-changing for the people doing the work and for the people benefiting from the work. But here's the part you're not going to like. I bet you knew this was coming. None of those kind of things I mentioned, all the charity stuff and the good work, none of it will do one single damn thing to alleviate the existential crises we face. In fact, I might go as far as to say, in some cases, it actually upholds the status quo in a couple of ways. Because, one, they let the government off the hook. Okay, well, look, churches and private charities can take care of hungry people. We don't have to have policy about that. You hear that from Republicans and conservatives all the time, that it shouldn't be the role of government to help poor people. We have churches for that. And it's never going to work. That's a flawed policy. That's basically an Ebenezer Scrooge. Have we no workhouses? Right? Okay. So that's ridiculous. So in a way, the worst thing I can say about all this really good work is it upholds the status quo. It lets the government off the hook, and capitalists use it as this moral cover. And this is everywhere. Big old corporations getting involved in these charities, and they use it for PR. Well, let's not go down that road. All I'm saying is that all the good deeds in the world, they're utterly useless in addressing our fundamental issues. Democracy itself, income inequality, COVID and future pandemics, the climate crisis, and the horrible inequities we have in policing as it regards race especially. Those are the pillars. Those are the four horsemen of the apocalypse, whatever you want to describe. Those are the big ones. And those charities and good work, in and of themselves, they do great stuff for small groups of people. They lift them out of poverty. Wonderful, wonderful. But they're never going to be a fraction of what we need to really face these issues. That means political involvement. That means the not giving up I was describing. Because, let's face it, unless you just want to really give up on those issues, that's where we are. You have to not give up. And if you do give up, you know what? Let's just be honest about it. Say it out loud. I give up. I surrender. But if you don't want to give up on those issues, then you got to do something about it. And you got to do it right now today. And that's where my hope resides, is that enough of us, if not all of us, at least enough of us will understand this and do what it takes. If you're just getting up and going to work and then coming home and watching a little TV and relaxing on the weekend and just trying to live a good, happy life, I don't know. God bless you. But it's not going to get us where we need to go. You got to find out what's going on. You got to share it with the world, and you have to do the work. Whatever level you're capable of. Not everybody can run for president. But everybody can be informed. Everybody can get out of the closet and go public. Everybody can spend a little time. And, there's my hope that enough of us do the right thing. All right. I love you. I'm Charles Purcell.